Hi and welcome to Core Finance. My name's Charlie Burton. Now we all know that trading is a very difficult profession to get into and become profitable at. But once you actually do become profitable, it's actually quite a rewarding career choice, isn't it? And quite a rewarding way of passing the time, shall we say. My guest on the show today is Steve Goddard. Welcome to the show. And Steve, you are one of these people who has probably got to that stage where you've mastered the markets.
Oh, I won't quite say mastered, but yeah.
I was just checking out, seeing how you're going to answer that question. Steve, tell us a little bit about how you got into the markets first of all, and then we'll talk about where you are with your trading currently. So how did you get into financial trading?
Probably around the sort of mid 80s, I had to go with commodities. And then in the 90s, I started to dabble with FTSE futures. The commodities was, I won't say a disaster, but I needed to learn more. And then I got into FTSE futures in the 90s and did quite well with that, but it wasn't my money, so that's a different story. And then it was about 5 years ago that a friend of mine mentioned that he got into forex trading, and my ears pricked up, and I thought, oh, okay. So I went to see him, and he opened up what I now know to be MT4, and I was absolutely amazed at what I saw. I thought, I've got to get back into this. I saw the graphs drawing themselves in real time. Back in the FTSE futures days, I was sitting there with graph paper and a pencil. And I remember thinking then, would it be nice to have some software that would do this for me? But I didn't think I would ever get back into it again. And then I saw that, and that's re-inspired me to get back into trading again. And yes, and so
because I actually met you at a barbecue. Well, actually, it was your brother-in-law's barbecue. It was a friend, a personal friend of ours. It's just coincidence that I'd met you maybe 7 years ago.
Yes,
so
about
probably
7 years ago.
I don't know if you were trading at that point.
No, I wasn't into it, and
no.
Of course I didn't know that you were doing it.
No, well, why would you? Just met you there on that day. We were drinking beer, having a burger on a summer's evening at his birthday. Yeah. So yes, we met then, but then you got in touch with me a couple of years later. You'd been trading for a couple of years by then.
Yes, because when my friend had told me about the forex, I kind of got back into it, and I think it was about 2 years or so. And then my sister phoned me to tell me that you're going to be on the telly. And I thought, okay. And you're on Traders Millions by the minute. And I was just absolutely amazed because I knew you, but I didn't know that's what you did. Of course, then I just had to get in touch and find out how you were doing things, because although I was having a reasonable degree of success with it, I always felt that I was on a knife edge. I always felt that at any minute I could just give all this back. So I wasn't comfortable with my trading. When I saw you on the show and how successful you've been with it, I thought I really have to take some money out of my trading account and join Ezeetrader and find out how to do it properly.
So I remember Helen got in touch with me and said, oh, can my brother phone you and have a chat with you? And I said, yeah, of course. And I remember that conversation however many years ago, and you said, look, I've watched this program and I freeze-framed some of the screens from when you were trading, and I was looking at it through a magnifying glass to try and figure out what you were doing. I did find that quite amusing at the time.
Yes, well, while I was trading, I could see that I needed some sort of a tolerance. I needed some sort of a band. I needed something to encapsulate it. And I looked at Bollinger Bands, and of course they have their place, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. And then when I saw the screen, the video of you, and I saw the bands on your charts, I thought, that is it. That's what I need to find. So, of course, yes, I had it recorded, and I was freeze-framing it, and I had the magnifying glass right up there just to find out what those bands were.
Right.
And although I did find out what they were, of course, I had no idea how to use them.
Exactly, yeah.
So I thought, well, I'm going to need to be part of the gang and see how it's all done. So I waited for the deal to come up in January and joined Ezeetrader.
There's always a deal in January, yeah. So you joined our community, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So so that was what, 3 or 4 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 years.
And so you're predominantly a day trader.
Yes,
right.
Mostly day trading.
Yeah.
I think it's that psychology that, you know, when you've worked all your life, you like to get up in the morning, do a job and finish it in the evening. I know trading's not really like that, but that's a psychology that I was in. So I felt like I needed to just day trade. I never held positions overnight. I just did pure day stuff. But as time's gone on now, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with what I see on the higher time frames and to take trades that do, you know, go on for 2 or 3 days or a week.
So it's interesting because I remember having a conversation with you a couple of years or so ago, and I said, well, why are you not holding your positions? And you're like, no, I close out at the end of the day. But it's amazing how with a bit of time things change.
And confidence,
yeah.
Yes, and of course position sizing has something to do with that as well, because you know, remember the thing that happened with the Swiss franc, you know, that kind of thing just frightened me out of holding positions overnight. But I think on the main currencies that we trade and the indices, if you position yourself down to a point where you think, okay, even if it crashed 200 points, how much am I going to lose? Is it going to be that bad? So I looked at it that way and started to do the longer term trades with smaller positions and just held on to them. And so I'm not so scared to do that anymore.
So from, just rewinding a little bit, because you, your career, you have a business, don't you?
Yes.
Which is?
Web design.
Right, okay. Yeah. So you're a web designer by trade, so to speak, which gives you the time, I guess, to be able to do this as well.
Yes, I am in a good position because I work from home. I am my own boss. I've been running my business for, well, I think I'm in my 12th year now. So I can kind of sit back at home, really, and I've got all the time in the world to be able to trade. Yeah. And then deal with stuff as it comes in, and that's what I tend to do. So it's all trading. My screens are all trading, and an email comes in on my phone, deal with that, get it out of the way, get back to trading.
So you say screens. Talk to me about your set. How many screens do you have as a day trader then, or as a trader?
I have 5. Right. I have one 24-inch that sits right in front of me, and I've got 4 22, 23-inch screens on each corner.
Do you think that's overkill?
Actually, no. I could do with more, but because there's so many time frames to look at, you can't go looking at every single market. There are so many cross pairs and everything out there. You've really got to narrow it down and say, well, look, let's just trade the euro, the pound, and the yen. And even then, when you've got a weekly chart, a daily chart, and a 4-hourly, an hourly, that's a lot of screens that you need just to watch 4 markets. And even that, there's not enough screens to do that. Yeah,
but a lot of people will just toggle. They'll just change the time frames when they want to look at it. But you want to be able to have every time frame
I like
there.
An overview. Otherwise, I forget. I look at a weekly chart and go, oh, well, I must be aware of that. Take the weekly chart away. Something can happen and I've forgotten. I think, oh, yeah, I forgot about the weekly chart. So I like to have it there to remind me. I do like an overview of everything so I can watch all the main time frames at the same time.
So you've got all these screens there. You're obviously predominantly a day trader, but we can talk about swing trading as well, a bit of swing now. How much screen time do you put in?
A day?
On average, yeah, roughly.
8 to 10 hours.
So you are in front of the screens quite a lot. Yeah. So you are a true trader in that essence, that you're not someone who says, oh, you can spend 15 minutes, you see the marketing, 15 minutes in front of the charts first thing in the day, and then put your trades on and go off, and then you come back and make a load of money sort of thing. You are an out-and-out trader.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can remember you saying, not long after I joined, that before you even begin to become a good trader, you need to have put in 10,000 hours of screen time. And at the time, I thought, oh, that's a lot of time to put in. But I think I'm there or thereabouts now, and I have to say I totally agree with that, because there's so much you can hear and learn from other people, but it's not until you've done those hours that you start to see it for yourself. I think it's a bit like driving. You know, when you first learn to drive, you get in, you've got to remember to put the seatbelt on, take the handbrake off, press the clutch in, look in the mirror. There's so much stuff to remember that after a period of time, we all do it automatically. And I think trading is very similar. From that point, is you've got so much to think about all the time that in time, after 10,000 hours of screen, it starts to become natural. You start to look at the charts and go, okay, there's nothing doing here, or we've got a potential short setting up here, or a lot, whatever. You start to see it a lot quicker. So all those other things that you've learned about is the 21 over the 50, you just see it, and you see it a lot easier when you've done that amount of time looking at charts. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, like you said, the 10,000 hour rules definitely work for you, and you believe the time, the experience that you've developed. But obviously there was a light bulb moment, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So we'll come back in part 2 and talk about a bit more specifics about your trading and about your light bulb moment and any other anecdotes you can give us. So we'll be back in part 2 very shortly.